Before we get into the game itself, a lot of stories swelling about Chelsea managers. Callum McFarlane could be the first Englishman since Harry Redknapp in 2008 to lift the FA Cup, only then to be replaced very quickly by somebody else. So who's it going to be, Crook? Because we all now believe it could be Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, we do. It's interesting. It shows how fluid a managerial hunt can be and how quickly a situation can change, because it was only about a week ago that I was told that Xabi Alonso wasn't completely convinced about this Chelsea project. But since Monday afternoon, when I got the nod that actually he's coming around to the idea, I think this one is accelerating. I think Xabi Alonso is the front runner, probably with Andoni Iraola in second place in that race, and that will have knock-on effects potentially for Crystal Palace's managerial search. But I think it's really interesting if Chelsea do go on and hire Xabi Alonso, because I think he's made certain demands during conversations. He wants a lot more control than the likes of Liam Rosenior certainly, and even Enzo Maresca had. Obviously, they're going for someone who's proven himself at Bayer Leverkusen and has managed at the very top level with Real Madrid. So that is a change in position. They're no longer going for sort of rookie managers who are learning on the job. And I think this would be an admission that a lot of the Blue Coast Sporting project has failed. You know, if they completely tear up their recruitment process and go for someone ready-made. I think Liverpool fans are frustrated because they want Arne Slot replaced with Alonso. That's assuming that Xabi Alonso wants that job, which I'm not completely convinced would be the case.
It's difficult, this one, Scott, isn't it? Because the idea of Xabi Alonso going to Chelsea makes me very happy. It sort of suggests that Chelsea are going to do something a little bit differently. I mean, the only way it works, though, is if he is being given the job as the manager of the football club and given license to pick the players the way he wants to pick the players, and to, you know, bring in a little bit more experience into the group, and they do change that philosophy. Now, I don't think, I mean, Crook says rip up the playbook and admit that the whole thing, the whole approach, the whole sporting approach by Blue Coat was wrong. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a tweak rather than a massive change. And the tweak is give more power to the manager and bring him some more experienced players. I think there still will be young players that are brought to the club, put on long contracts, and the idea will be to try and trade them further down the line. But just that sort of admission that maybe the manager needs a little bit more power, just that sort of change that you need that more experience in the dressing room will be refreshing. And actually, when they said after sacking Liam Rosenior, we're all going to sit in a dark room, meditate and do a bit of yoga together and have some self-reflection. If that's what's come out of that little sort of retreat, then I'm all for it, Scott.
Well, maybe we should go to a spa at some point and reflect on the season.
Scott, is this you, me, a trophy and some bubbles again? I mean, come on. You're being a bit transparent here, fella.
I was thinking about Crookie there, but if you want to chuck Crookie instead of Crookie, then fine.
Let me tell you, if we're all in a bath with Crookie, there's more than just a few bubbles.
And it won't be green tea that we're drinking either.
Let's quickly move on then, shall we? Look, I said earlier, I agree with every single word Alex Crook said. I disagree with him there, and I totally agree with you. I don't think it is a... Look, it's an admission that they've got it wrong 100%, but in terms of the solution, it is a tweak. It is a tweak. And I did something on talkSPORT yesterday and, you know, sort of asked the difference between Iraola and Xabi Alonso. For me, from the Chelsea hierarchy point of view, that is a mindset that they realise that the head coach needs to be a manager and not just a small cog in a wheel where the medical man sits on the bench and tells him when to take players off. If Xabi Alonso is offered and accepts the job, then that tells I have so much confidence going forward. Because I've said for all season, if not a couple of seasons, just 3 or 4 senior pros in the spinal positions who have been there, seen it, done it, with a manager who has been there, seen it, done it as well. And I don't read anything into what happened at Real Madrid. You only have to look at the infighting, literal infighting that's going on at Real Madrid to show what a basket case that club is there. But he still would have learnt a lot. And what he did at Leverkusen and the mentality he has, he wants the control. I think Chelsea will be back challenging within a year or so.
By the same token, though, and this is the final question I'll ask you on Xabi Alonso, Crook, there is an inherent risk here, isn't there? If Xabi Alonso doesn't judge this right and he isn't getting what he wants really, and they're just fobbing him off to get him through the door, and it all goes Pete Tong within the first 9 months, that will be a Chelsea job and a Real Madrid job that hasn't worked after Bayer Leverkusen. So it is a bit of a gamble for him, and he has to make sure that all those criteria are in place.
Yeah, he does. But I think it's a sign that he's backing himself. I agree with Scott. I don't think you can really judge him on Real Madrid. And actually, his win percentage wasn't that bad at the Bernabeu. You know, you would argue that Real Madrid have got worse since he left the football club, not better. And Jose Mourinho pitching up there now, which is going to be a fascinating experiment, is going to really have to tear up that dressing room, if you like, because there's so many big egos there. And actually, there are egos at Chelsea. And, you know, I've spent a lot of time criticising their players over the last few weeks, but they're different types of egos. They're not Kylian Mbappe size egos. So I think Xabi Alonso can manage that.
Kylian Mbappe is known for being quite a humble guy, actually, behind the scenes. He may well come across as if he's got a big ego to you, but apparently they used to call him Mini Obama because he was such a sort of diplomatic negotiator. The way he would deal with other people was always quite sort of very sort of friendly, and he always came across as quite a humble guy. But there are some others in there as well that are quite good at getting their own way. But no one has got a bigger ego than Jose. So good luck with that, lads. He's in charge now, and you're all in massive trouble. As for this, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm absolutely fully on board. As someone who quite likes Real Madrid, I'm pleased that Jose is there. He will go in and he will structure that team, and he will make sure that they are all in check.
We should mention, by the way, while we're talking about Jose Mourinho, there could be a sort of managerial domino effect because you've got Jose Mourinho, Marco Silva, and Felipe Luis all represented by the same agent.
Did they all get on the same jet, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, but certainly Silva and Mourinho did. So the suggestion is Mourinho to Real Madrid, Marco Silva, who's got a massive offer on the table from Fulham, but is still unsigned to Benfica, and then potentially Felipe Luis, who I reported exclusively is also on Crystal Palace's list, to replace Silva at Fulham. So one to keep an eye on.
Vamos Benfica.
Yes. Well, listen, you and Marco Silva can go and be mates. You look a little bit like Marco Silva a little bit, don't you two? Right, okay, back to this Saturday, sorry. Chelsea players obviously now knowing that there's a possibility that Xabi Alonso comes in. Do you think that changes, Scott, the way that they approach it? Will there be a couple of them that are trying to sort of display to everybody that they should be part of his future plans?
I don't think one game changes that. I think Xabi Alonso is savvy enough to know that, as we saw in the semi-final where they lifted themselves, and I thought they played really well actually at Anfield. They'll play well here, whoever's in charge. So I don't think it is a question of, Xabi Alonso is watching, I better play well, because he would have done their homework on all of them, the character as well as the team. Now, we can turn around and say there's a lot of players out there with egos. I don't blame Enzo Fernandez or Marc Cucurella for saying what they said, because they are frustrated themselves with what's going on, because they want to be part of Chelsea. If they didn't care about Chelsea, they just keep quiet and let their agent do all the work. But they are showing that they care. Now, I know Crookie and has had a go at Enzo and a few others as well. And I get it. I do get it. But they are frustrated with what's happening. They've got 6-7 years left in their contract. They want to be challenging for the Premier League and the Champions League. And if anything, this season, they're falling away. So why would you not be frustrated about that? But Xabi Alonso comes in, trust me, it is a clean slate. And I would love it if Enzo Fernandez would stay there for Chelsea for next season.
What does it do to the dressing room when you hear that Xabi Alonso is going in? If you're a Chelsea player this week and you've noticed that all of a sudden that he's 5-2 on to become the new manager of Chelsea, which is pretty much nailed on now, right? That's the feeling. Okay, let's say it's 80% that he becomes the manager of Chelsea. Does your mindset change immediately? Do you think, hold on a second, there's every chance we can start competing now. They're taking this seriously. Does that figurehead and the level of that figurehead give you a different outlook onto the way the club is going?
Absolutely. 100%. Because, we're seeing the way they're going at the moment, and it's not in the right direction. It's not even sort of challenging at the moment. They might not even finish in a European place. That's just Chelsea Football Club we're talking about. Club world champions. So they've got to be challenging regularly. And those players who seem really, unhappy with what's happened over the last 12 months, who were really close to Enzo Maresca. And look, I feel sorry for Liam. He'll come back and he'll get another good job, and I think he'll show to be a really good manager. But this is Chelsea Football Club. And these players now want to be winning those major trophies. And if Xabi Alonso comes in place, it's like, bang, there's a flag in the floor. We're going to go again. And fair play to the owners if they do that.
I think it sort of reminds me a little bit of when you were at Chelsea and Glenn Hoddle is the manager or comes in to be the manager. And as soon as Glenn Hoddle comes in to be the manager, everyone goes, wow, Ken Bates is taking this seriously, this rebuild seriously of the football club. Then when Glenn becomes the England manager, they bring in Ruud Gullit and you're like, okay, all right, we really are going for it now. Do you know what I mean? And then when Ruud goes, it's Gianluca Vialli. So you've got like, I suppose that sort of charisma and those characters that turn up, they elevate the feeling around the football club. And Xabi Alonso has the ability to do that for Chelsea. I just hope that he's given the tools to be able to do it as well.
He will,
because
Sam.
It could
He
be
will.
a recipe for success.
He will, or he'll walk out. He will, or he'll walk out. There's no point in promising Xabi Alonso what he wants and then not giving it to him, because he is one of those who will walk out.